All right, so we started with the premise, connection with other hinges on connection with self. And from that grew our how might we, which is how might we help others while maintaining and boosting our own mental health. And the word while was very intentional. The idea being that there are various venues through which it can be a win-win. You can help and not deplete. You can help and renew and increase your own vitality. And so the title of our project is called Apart Heart to Heart. And we will now explain the details of that, but it's this sense that no matter how far apart you are, whether it's 6 feet in another town, city, or across the country, there's always the ability to connect heart to heart. And that connection really brings something to the human spirit.
Okay, so for what does it do? We were discussing that it invites and it normalizes in-person or even virtual micro moments between people, whether you know them or they're complete strangers. And it also has the potential to create macro moments. So if this lives on social media, having that experience of understanding that other people are partaking in this activity in some form, whether they're connecting with you directly or other people, we think kind of creates a sense of normalcy or some reinvigoration in the way that we socialize. And so really this is for everyone. I know when we split between the two groups, we had kind of the persona or the understanding that we're coming from the perspective of somebody that already knows themselves. And we really just thought this could be for somebody who knows themselves and has that energy to give to another person in a connection, or it can be somebody who might not have that energy and needs that energy restored with the connection. So it's really for anybody coming to a conversation, to an interaction with whatever kind of mental state they're in, and they have the opportunity to grow and maintain that through connecting with another person. And then the pain point it addresses, we wanted, we were talking about the types of emotions you feel when you're not connected. And we've listed them out here: loneliness, joylessness, lack of human-to-human interaction, so feeling isolated in this time, and then lack of co-creativity, lack of rootedness, knowing that other people are creating something in contribution of a larger movement. So to illustrate this idea, we're centering our story around a persona.
All right, so before we begin the story, I want to say this is based on true life events, based on true story, and many more true stories that might be happening in the world today that we might be hearing and probably also expecting from people. So this is a story of a girl named Michelle. Michelle lives alone in her apartment, and since the quarantine, she's been inside her apartment most of the times, feeling isolated, feeling depressed, feeling like not feeling like herself. And she's been trying to stay connected with friends, and there's a lot of Zoom fatigue and technology fatigue, interacting with people only through screens. She tries to ask her friends living in the same city to try to meet up, and then it basically turns out that people are scared to take the public transport, or probably also a little nervous to get into an Uber. She tries to connect with her friends, but is not able to. Then she tries to get out of her house, walk around the block, go to the park. But even then, everybody is wearing masks, everybody is trying to maintain a distance, and everybody seems very nervous to kind of talk to each other and mingle and socialize, because nobody knows how to behave in these situations, what to expect, what other people might expect. Spending time in nature feels really calm and serene to her, but she's also getting tired of that. One day she opens her Instagram and she sees a post that somebody started that went viral. It just basically was a really simple idea. Somebody created a green heart and put it on their clothing, or and just went outside, indicating that this particular icon means that they're inviting conversation from strangers, from other people. They're inviting conversation from people who they might not know, but at the same time trying to maintain the 6 feet distance, just encouraging in-person conversations and encouraging people to reach out to each other. So she makes a heart with simple things that she finds in her wardrobe, and just puts it on her clothing, and then off she goes. When she goes to the park, she sees that the idea has already gone viral. And there are a lot of other people also wearing such green hearts on their clothing, on their bags, on their jackets. She tries to reach out to some people. They try to form a group, and gradually a group of 2 people turns into a group of 6. They are all sitting at a distance from each other as recommended. But they're still able to have an in-person conversation. They're able to tap into the social network of their own neighborhood, talking to people that they might have not talked to if not for this green heart. They might not have known them. Now they have these new experiences, new human connections. They could probably set a time, set a routine to meet each other every week, try to exchange ideas, try to create something, try to share music, and just have a good time and have their mental creativity and this lack of joyfulness restored, to be able to go back to their homes and feel content within their own selves, and then be able to be there for their friends and family who might also be feeling isolated or depressed. So finally, the energy, the lack of creativity, mindfulness, all of that is restored through just simple human connection between people. And yeah, that's Michelle is happy at the end of it.
So before I just say what's needed for implementation, I just wanted to add something that, you know, in terms of neuroscience research, there's a lot that supports micro moments between people, that the brain really responds chemically in a very strong positive way, even in the smallest interactions between people. Barbara Friedrichsen, I think she's out of University of North Carolina, has done work specifically around this. So that's really referring back to that mental health picture, and hence also why we used the word micro and macro, and it's in the story that Divya just shared, that they can be small interactions, and it can also the possibility to expand to longer interactions or relationships. And one of the things we discussed when we were coming up with this idea is the fact that it gives people the opportunity to become familiar and even maybe friendly with the people who live in their neighborhoods. A lot of times we already have our friend groups, and we're less open to making overtures to the people who live right next door or in our apartment building, or who we see on our walks if we're in an urban environment. So what's needed for implementation? Momentum to enable viral movement, access to social media platforms, openness and goofiness to make a green heart and go. And we just really liked the word goofy because we feel like in these serious times, the more playful we can be, the more we can invite our playful parts of ourselves. That also helps one's mental health. And it just also makes this movement one that can be a really creative one, where someone can put their personal stamp on it, and then it's almost becomes this curious thing, like, oh, what'd she do? Oh, that's cool that he did that. I didn't think of it. So we were happy about that. Who can contribute? Social media influencers and marketers, ambassadors and community organizers, fashion designers and artists, public relations specialists, and web designers. And I had one other thought, and then Divya, maybe you could share how that fashion designer actually already reached out to you. But the other thought I wanted to share was when Katie mentioned lack of co-creativity. One of the things we discussed is, we find ourselves when we're alone, and we also find ourselves when we're with people. And when we're alone too much, it's as if a part of ourselves is so quieted it can even start to wither. Because when we're with others, we just become more animated, or it gives us someone to play against. It's like in a sport, you've got someone to hit the ball, they hit the ball back. So different parts of yourselves that just don't really come into being when you're alone can come into being when you're with others, and then your full self is showing up, and it's just like you kind of like you feel more alive. You just start to smile a bit more. So yeah, Divya, did you want to share how that fashion designer reached out to you?
That was me.
Sorry.
When I was creating this, just in the spirit of, quick prototyping, I used my school account Instagram just to kind of illustrate this quickly, and I posted it, and I only have like 20 followers on this thing, but it's publicly facing, and through the hashtags I used or whatever, it popped up into somebody's algorithm, and they were saying, hey, it would be great if we could collaborate on this. So even just in that simple prototype with that small following, it did reach one person who wanted to connect in kind of a business sense, or just contribute to part of this movement. So we thought that was a cool thing to just highlight.